Hey guys, Max here, and I kind of just wanted to go over all the items for Pygmalion. This is subject to change. It's not exactly a tier list as much as it's like me giving my thoughts on all the items and if patches is going to change. But I thought this would be a good chance for those of you who are maybe newer to the game. This will be probably pretty useful as an introduction guide to Pygmalion, maybe. Or this is just me rambling to try and figure out what items I need to be playing more this patch. This is the start of February. This is right after they nerfed all the charge items. I think there's going to be hopefully a new patch soon enough. Maybe there's working on the free version that might come out in a month. But let's get started. Um, these tiers are pretty. There's some items that don't fit in exactly a tier, but I'll just go over each item individually. So, Crystal Bonsai. I'm not going to know all the names off the top of my head, but I'll tell you the effects. It would be nice if the game had a, an in-game like wiki-ish, but there is an online wiki like this, and I'm thinking maybe I'll just show all the effects for the items through here, just for those of you that aren't familiar. But the in-game just looks so much nicer. I mean, the game is really beautiful, and all the cards have such great flavor that it's a shame I can't show you it in game. But even the items I do own, when you hover over them, it doesn't show you what they do. So I'll just use the wiki for now. Let me know what you guys think. Crystal Bonsai. So this gains money at the start of each fight. It's actually a really interesting item, and I like how it works because it has an upside of gaining economy at the start of each fight and healing based off its own value, and it has a downside of if you lose, it loses all its money. I always find that kind of fun. But most of the time, you just don't use it against players. You use it to get some gold early on and have a decent healing item, and it scales up by pretty good. At silver, it's 4 gold at the start of each fight, which is quite a bit early on. But late game, I just never really use it too much. It has potential to like make a build around it if you could somehow get a really large value on it, but then it would just lose everything. It's too risky. But it's a good economy item. I'll put it at that. This item, I don't remember, it's Shark Tooth Necklace or something. It uses some of your money to give a small amount of permanent damage to your items. The issue is that the amount it uses is so little. I don't think it works from your backpack. Maybe someone can correct me from this. This item looks really bad if it doesn't work from your backpack. I've never really used it because you only find it as gold for some reason. And later on in the game, you do tend to have a lot of excess gold, but gaining 5 or 10 damage on a weapon at the start of each fight it's just too small to matter in my opinion. Maybe I should be using it more on these runs where I just have so much extra money, but there's other things that are better spent on. Talking about actual, let's go through all the economy items first. So Gumball Machine is kind of like a reverse. It uses your money, but it's not something you put on your board. At the start of each hour, it uses 2 gold normally, and it gives you a gumball. And gumballs by themselves are pretty good. They can give your items permanent crit chance, which is the highlight, give you permanent health, and a whole bunch of other things. And Pygmalion has a lot of synergy with these small sellable items. I'm just going to call them tokens, like coins, the piggles, and everything else. There's a lot of good synergy with those, and it's a good way of burning your excess money. So this item's not exactly, it's kind of economy, but I'm gonna put it up here. What else we have for economy? We have business card. Business card is just free money whenever you talk to a merchant, and it upgrades itself. It main thing I really like business card for is that when you the encounter where you get to go to the bazaar, you can use it to get 3 XP instead of the extra 2, and I value XP very highly right now. So not only does it give you economy, but it also gives you a really good special event. So I'm going to put it up in Eco Good. Late game, I always tend to keep one of these, and I just take the XP event a lot of the time. Loop, it's not really bad, honestly, but they nerfed this so heavily. It used to just give your small items plus 1 value, and it was really fun. it did feel quite strong, but they changed it to give all small items plus one value at the start of each day, which is like just a crazy nerf in my eyes. It went from permanent plus one on every small item at like it's basically at the start of like whenever you buy it. It's even better than every hour to at the end of each day. Like at that, I don't know. It just it's such a crazy nerf to me. I uh, I don't really understand why it was so drastically needed personally. So I'm just gonna put it in bad right now. The item itself mechanically, if it's just gonna give value to your small items at the start of each day, it'll be fine. But you can only find it at gold tier, and you don't really tend to keep that many small items at the start of each day. It's all right. It basically makes your tokens better, but if you have things that use tokens, then you don't need it. I don't know. I'm gonna put it in bad tier just because of how like I just ignore it now when I see it. It's just worse than every other economy item. Um, the math on it, even if you have like 8 items in your stash, so 8 small items, so you get plus 7 gold at the start of each day, and it's gold. Compare it to just like a credit card where you get plus 4 gold every time you talk to a merchant. You just have to talk to 2 merchants, and you make up the value. And credit card has a lot better. Credit card is definitely the best economy item right now on Pygmalion, so it's a little bit unfair to compare it. But credit card, when you visit a merchant, it gains value, and it gives the item to the left of it value. And a lot of items on Pygmalion scale super well with value. Not that many actually. I wish there was more. I think this wiki's actually missing a new healing item that when you sell, it gives its value to whatever's on your very left, which is very nice. It basically doubles the gold you get from credit card. But credit card is a super good economy item. The boots, I think they're not actually bad, but they're definitely better than Lupe. They disabled them, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if there's a bug or why, but I never really had like. I think it's if you're winning, you can buy them and then you can win more almost. But the upgrades right now feel super weak. Um, the boots were whenever you spend 50 gold, it would upgrade an item lower tier than itself, but it couldn't upgrade itself. So you had to like find extra boots to upgrade it. It wasn't super good. Like if you had diamond boots, which would cost you a lot of money, it could upgrade items to gold basically every 50 gold, and 50 gold's a lot. It had its use. If there was a mid tier, I put a mid tier. I'm just gonna leave it for now. Let's see. Little pocket watch, I think is what it's called. This just gives you income. It's not very good for the money, but after each hour, it just gives you HP. I mean, it's okay. It's all right. It's definitely not bad. It's nice for the mass. Like the income doesn't really matter that much, like money wise, but the HP is just nice to have passively. Um, let's see any other economy items. Briefcase is honestly, it's basically an economy item, and it's quite good too. The bronze one you buy for 4 gold, you sell it for 2 gold, and it gives you 2 coins at both sell. So you make your money back, and you get 2 tokens. And there's a lot of merchants now that buy items at increased values, either medium or small. So you can make profit from it, and it generates tokens. It's a really nice item, um, especially when you want to buy sell on Pygmalion. It's nice. You don't really make money off it, so I'm gonna put it on the right, but it's good. Safe is definitely worse than briefcase because you don't make your money back. On average, I think you lose. Well, once these get higher tiers, then you start losing more money. I don't know the exact math off the top of my head. Let me think. For briefcase, it costs 8 gold. You sell for 4, and you make 2 silver coins. So you actually make your money. You still fine for briefcase, but for safe, you get 3 coins, but it sells for 0. So you lose 1 gold, then you lose 2 gold, and then you lose 4 gold. I'm pretty sure as it scales up. It's all right. It's just strictly worse than briefcase, though. You get one more token for the cost of losing money. So, and it's not a weapon. Sometimes you want to sell weapons or buy weapons on Pygmalion, depending on your passives. Um, I think I always buy these shorts. They give you a gumball and a coin. They're quite good. I think gumballs again I think are quite good on average. Just having crit chance permanently on your items I value pretty highly. Um, you do lose money on them, but it's a good way to burn cash. And it generates 4 tokens. And I don't know the math on it, how much it actually costs, because it depends what you get. Sometimes you get coins, sometimes you get gumballs, sometimes you get chocolate. Globe, it's hard to man. I mean, I think a lot of people really like Globe. At the start of each day, it gives you 100 HP. Maybe it's because of the current meta. I really don't value HP super highly. There's not that many big weapon builds. Most of the builds are just based around burn. Sorry, I'm getting Discord. Most of the builds are based around burn or poison, which is stacking damage. And it basically comes to a point where HP does not matter. You could not have enough HP that it would maybe buy you a second or two. And if you're going to lose versus that build because it outscales you, then you're going to lose anyways. It's scaling versus scaling. So outside of that, the globe tends to be pretty expensive, and the numbers it gives you is quite low. There's some cool enchantments you can put on it where it starts a fight of burn, poison, and I'm sure you could do some better things with that. But maybe you guys have to show me the potential of globe I've not seen, because most of the time I just ignore it. Not always. Sometimes I buy it just for the 100 HP at the end of the day, but it feels bad to me personally. This weapon feels better, but we'll get to that. I'll be in the weapon tier. Cash register. It's nice early on. It takes up a lot of inventory space. It takes up 4 spots. You don't always have space for it, but I think it's definitely better than safe and pocket watch. It's a good item. It generates tokens consistently, but the upgraded version is this for sure. I prefer chocolate, and it makes 3 of them. Maybe some people are not going to agree with me here. This also counts as a property, which is quite nice because sometimes you get level up rewards that give you money based on your properties, and there's some other encounters that do stuff based on your properties. Overall, though, when I want tokens, I much rather find this item, which I can't remember the name of. I think it's called Candy Stand or something. Stand, right? Cash register. I'll surely edit this, right? Vending machine. Okay, I was wrong. Okay, but yeah, you get either chocolate or spare change. You get 3 of them. So this always gives you coins. So if you have like a tree that you want, maybe you stick with it. All right, we're almost done with the economy items. Masterpiece. It feels like it takes so long. It doesn't give you any tokens, and it takes so long to actually make its money back. And it's a medium item. I prefer getting tokens because currently the strongest items for Pygmalion, I guess not they're not the strongest items for Pygmalion. One of the strongest early items, uh, where I'm looking for it, I can't find it. Do they not have Regal Cloak here? Oh, it's right here. It uses tokens. I just value token items a little bit higher than Masterpiece. It's okay. It makes your money. I almost want to put it in bad tier though. I don't know if it's. I think on average it is worse than Globe. It just feels like it takes too long to make its money back compared to other economy items. If you can't find anything else, it's all right. Regal Shroud, I think, is what it's actually called. I'm just gonna pretend I know the name. I think it's called Regal Shroud. Every time you sell a small item, a small non-weapon item, it gains shield permanently. And there's some really good shield synergies right now based on how big your shields are, or just shield. Okay, I guess dagger counts as a economy item. This is similar to Pawn Shop. Let me go ahead and put Pawn Shop up here. Pawn Shop is going to go somewhere. I don't know where to put Pawn Shop. It takes up a lot of space. It also has potential to be used as an item once it gets enough value, and if not, you just sell it. And one of the core builds right now is max HP Pygmalion, but the fact that people are using the belt sometimes over Pawn Shop just tells me it's a little bit weak. It doesn't feel like it gives you quite enough HP. It's hard to make it scale up super hard. I don't know where to put Pawn Shop, honestly. I'm not. I think someone who is better at making these max HP Pygmalion builds work would rate it a lot higher than I do, because I don't find much success with those builds currently. So I'm gonna put it over here. Above safe for sure. Dagger's above safe too. Dagger and Pawn Shop, they both get value when you sell items. I think Pawn Shop, is it only small items though? Dagger, I know it's everything. And Dagger, you basically exclusively use just to make some money and then sell it. Pawn Shop, every time, oh, it's anything. You can eventually get it high enough to where you want to put it on the board and gain a bunch of HP if you find the correct items for that, or you can sell it for a bunch of money too. Yeah, Diamond 2x, interesting, but yeah, Dagger does not scale up enough to ever warrant being used. Sadly, even if you sell 500 gold in a run, it would do 1,000 damage, which is nothing late game when people have 10k HP. So yeah, it's just a purely economy item. Pawn Shop, on the other hand, can actually be used. I want to put it in big potential. It's not. It's an item that you'd actually use on the board, right? So none of these you'd normally use on the board, other than Crystal Bonsai, but then you just sell it. Okay, I think of that. Maybe I'm like ATM is Gym is kind of an economy item. Same with ATM. Same with Lemonade Stand, but not really. Lemonade Stand has big potential also. It's every time you sell a small item, you gain maximum HP. And the main thing right now, though, is you can enchant it with a Fire Name enchant, and every time you sell something, it'll permanently give a burn to a burn item, which scales super hard. With Matchbox, which is a small item that burns. I'll just leave it at that. It has charge whenever you use something else. It was a lot better last patch. It's still good this patch. Pygmalion does not have access to, I think, any other burn items. They don't really want him to be a burn character, but burn is just so strong right now that you do what you got. You got to go for it. Okay, let's just keep going in order. Regal Blade. Both these items, if you get them early on, they can carry you to 10 wins. And I don't know which one's better. I prefer Regal Shroud. I think that's called Regal Shroud, right? Regal Blade. And oh, is it not called Shroud? It's called Silk. I'm completely wrong. It's called Silk, sorry. Yeah, I prefer the shielding personally, but they're both good. Caltrops is an item that does damage whenever an enemy uses an item. So you can imagine that it loses pretty heavily against people who are using big, damaging, slow items that just one-hit you, and it does really well against people who are using small, quick items, or a bunch of small, quick items. Issue is that you can only find this later on. It's restricted to gold now. It used to only be diamond, meaning that you probably already have a build figured out by the time you get to it. So it's hard to build around it, but it's still a really strong item, so I'll put it up in core. I rarely find it, because most of my runs don't get to even 7 wins this patch. Most of the time it's like 5 to 6 wins on Pygmalion. It's been a struggle. So, and when I do get to 10 wins, it's ready with a build that I don't want to pivot to something else. I'm already in a good spot. I'm definitely maybe need to get better at pivoting to items like this. Belt. Belt gives you max HP, and the number is nuts. Diamond, it just doubles your HP. At gold, it's 75% HP. So, it's super good. And all out of the time, even if crook builds, you just put this in because of the values being it's just high value. But don't even want to put it in almost never. But issue is that once again, HP isn't super good. It's meaningful early on, but early on the numbers aren't that big. Um, oh man, you use it more often than you use pawn shop, and depending on what kind of builds, if you like playing square with crooks, and you always just play crook builds, then you use it a lot also. But I personally don't always like playing square pig, so I just use it a little bit less. They're both. It's a good item. It is a very high value item on a medium. Gives you a lot of HP. Um, if you think about how much damage items do, like how much HP they take away from the opponent versus how much HP this gives you, you could see the value quite quickly of it doubling your HP when you're at 5k HP. It's pretty nuts. And it's okay. Let's go with the bow. Now, the bow is super good early on, and if you give it some good damage, I mean, really, really early on, like before day 4, if you give it some damage and you get some HP, it can carry you quite hard. And the fact that it's just a multicast 3 item with that scales by 20 damage every time you upgrade it makes it quite good. You need to be higher damage than the or higher health than the opponent for it to give that extra multicast. However, that's pretty easy to do with Pygmalion. But it also, if you're losing it, it's I don't know. I want to put it in the middle of these two because it's all right. It's definitely not an almost never. I'm gonna rename this mid. I mean, the truth is if you're playing Crook, you're using Crook. You probably have a Regal Blade or something. You probably want to find Caltrops, and you have like a belt, and then you could also have a bow. But I'll leave it here for now, and I'll revisit it. Crook has big potential just to carry you early on. They nerfed it; it's still good. It's just if you have enough damage to one hit people early on, you just need a tiny bit extra damage boost. Damage boost goes so far, and then later on it enables items like Caltrops, which have a base damage of 1, so every damage buff to them is very good. Or it used to be better, a lot better, but they keep nerfing it. I think it's not that strong of an item right now, but Pygmalion just has he's quite weak, so some things seem really strong on him, but then you play versus other classes and you realize, oh, it's not actually that good. Speaking of not, axe is definitely an economy item. This is just like briefcase. You make your money back, so you tend just to always buy it. It gets you 1 token, 1 item. Um, bandages. Meh. I'm gonna put them in meh tier. Bandages. They're one of the better heal items. Pygmalion has a lot of heal items that kind of are just like whatever. Let me go look for bonsai would be here too if I can make a second copy of it. I swear I'm missing one more heal item. Okay, bird is good. I'm gonna ignore this for now. Oh, it's that new heal item they added that I was talking about earlier. If the is it on the wiki? Maybe it's like this little green bush that heals you, and oh, there's also ointment. Either I'm blind or this tier list is missing a couple of items. Can I add items? Okay, edit this out. Okay. Um. Yeah. So the overheal item is also not on the wiki, but it would be better than both of these. So let me. The issue right now with the healing items that I have on Pygmalion, they all have the cooldown of 4 seconds, including the bird. Thankfully, the bird has multicast. But what this means early on is that if you're playing a healing build, sometimes with all your heals lining up, one, you'll just overheal too much. Two, when the sandstorm hits, sometimes all your heals just won't go off because they're all one cooldown. If they're separate cooldowns, then one might go off, and then it might give you enough time for another one to go off. So I wish there was more choices, honestly, and I wouldn't mind some of these even being weaker to have a long cooldown. I think ointments is 5 seconds long, actually, um, but it being a weaker choice that it's rarely gone for. Yeah, it is 5 seconds. So yeah, doesn't really make much sense. Succulent scales permanently. Bandages also gives you shield, and there's items that scale up your shielding and items that have cooldown reduced when you use shielding, so it has a better synergy. And honestly, Bird and bandages are like the same tier for me. Bandages is so nice early on. Bird, you can make a nice property build. The multicast is just super strong. They've nerfed it enough though to where now it's definitely not good enough to carry. That's for sure. But multicast is still a very strong, especially on small items. If Crook was guaranteed times 3, or if it upgraded to times 4 at Diamond, I think it would be a much better item, but it's all right. Speaking of multicast, okay, let me just. Okay, this item shields you and then it heals you for how much shielding you have. It does nothing else. It has an okay cooldown. And yeah, the issue of this is that if you have enough shielding, you much rather just kill them. Very rarely are you in a situation where you have enough space on your board to put in a medium item that is only good against poison builds, because that's the only build that benefits or it gets past your shield, you know? Having an item that heals and shield is nice, but this is basically just a worse version of bandages in most situations. So I have used it before with weights. But yeah, the more I talk about it, the worse it looks to me. I almost want to put it in never tier because I've used it a single time, and I think I got to 8 wins or something. It was a weights build, a shielded weights build, so it's okay. I'll put this little toy. This is a small item that has ammo, and it's based on how many small items you have. I don't really see the use for it. There's no ammo synergy on the character, and in most situations, it's just a bad weapon. You don't want it early on. You don't want it late. I just don't see a situation where you ever want this. Small item Pygmalion isn't super good now once they've nerfed charge. This item shields based on your gold. It's really not that bad theoretically. It's just rarely do you have enough gold to make it good early on. And later on, if you're playing shield, you're pretty tight on space. You don't have that much extra space. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly double check that the item does what I think it does. I don't even remember its name, but it is a never tier. I never use it. Abacus, yeah. Shield equals to the value of adjacent items. See, I don't know if this is up to date. Also, either way, it shields based on value. If it's on adjacent items, that does make it better than your gold. But if a property is in a weak spot right now, I could see this being okay with a property build though, just to let you survive for a little bit longer. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem super good to me. It doesn't contribute much. Gavel is funny, but it really is a never tier. It does 500 damage. It's an 8-second cooldown, and it hits whoever has less HP, I think. So if you're winning, you get to win more by 500 damage. And if you're losing, you die to your own item, which is hilarious. Um, if they're, a small item with 1,000 damage does have big potential in my mind. It's just like what builds this would be good against a build that's like has a big cooldown and you want to kill them, quickly, but then it has an 8-second cooldown, so you have to try and work around that. But it is interesting. I'm gonna put it top of never tier. I mean, I never use it, so it'd be dishonest for me to put it somewhere else. I bought it like once or twice when I first started playing the game, and it was funny. But then, I stopped because big meme item. Since we saw it, let's also go through keys. Put this bottom of never tier. It's 12-second cooldown to use a property. There's no property right now that you want to use 12 seconds to do. It doesn't work with tent. I thought it would be cool if you could make it use the tent active, but it doesn't work. Yeah, 12 seconds is just too long for a cooldown, and there's not really any simple way to fix this other than hasting it to 6 seconds. And even then, the properties aren't. They're not that slow. The properties are just going to go off. You don't need something else to make them go off twice. I mean, it's okay. Its potential if properties were better, or if its cooldown got reduced, or if it had multicast maybe at diamond tier. But as it is right now, it's just a useless item. I'm gonna take Gavel out of here. Some of these are just like a different. I've used these items once or twice. I'm gonna put them in meh tier. But these items are like actually never. It's like the gap between these and these, I think, are just so big and how useless these are. Speaking of another useless item, this is 10 seconds to multicast a damaging and shield item. Issue is again just its cooldown. If you hasted this, it would be 5 seconds to multicast a damage and a shield. It's just there's not really any purpose this serves. If you want shielding, you're better off using bandages, which would go off every 4 seconds anyways. If you want like a small shielding item, and if you want a weapon that does this, it'd be interesting. If drums were any good, but there's not really any small weapon synergy right now to have a bunch of these small items on Pygmalion. This is another multicast weapon, but this one's actually all right. I don't know its name, but it's just I think it's like a 6-second cooldown multicast. So it's a 3-second weapon. You can think of it like that. Yeah, there's not much to say about it. Sometimes it's useful. Sometimes you have damage buffs and you put it on early on, and it's just some extra damage. Multicast is a good property to have. I blanked for a second. A little coin purse or whatever it's called, gems. I'm gonna start going faster. I think 3-second cooldown shield item. 3-second cooldown on a shield item that's small. That's pretty bloody good. It also scales based on its own value, so you can have it scale early on. I don't often use it later in the game, but it definitely has potential and it has its own place and it has its use. So yeah. Kikiri, Kukiri, whatever it's I always call it Kikiri. I used to love this item when bird is better. You just scale it up. Nowadays it's not as good. The scaling is too small compared to every dually item scaling. It scales by 369 or something. I think 12 at diamond, which is like every time you heal. The issue is that you much rather be using a yo-yo. It's not that bad though. It just has a high cooldown. Let me find it. Kakuri. 8-second cooldown. Yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12. The scaling's quite low, and later on in the game you just need there's just items that kind of exponentially scale, either burn or yo-yo with like an enchantment or something. It does have its use, and it is really useful early on. So I'm gonna put it up here, definitely in front of all of these items. In front of Bo. Bo carries you early on, so man, I don't know. Huh. All right. A little bit weird. I'm starting to like compare these items and it's starting to like be a little bit weird. But we'll have to go back through it. Trap system or something. Every time you use a property, this gains damage. You're not really using properties that much. And the scaling is quite low. It's 5, 10, 15. It's better than Kikiri, but there's just not that many active properties that have a low cooldown. And the ones that do, you would be playing around something else. You'd be, like windmill, you want to proc something else that's doing flat damage late game just isn't good. I'll put it that way. That's why this is so low, and this is why this is not even good early on because you're not gonna have a property. It's definitely not a never tier, but it might as well be down there. It's almost never. I've used it a couple of times. I use it more than Gavel. Gavel should be on the bottom. Gavel should almost be a never tier, but I've used it once. I'll just reorder this a tiny bit. Okay, that looks better to me. Slow is quite good. Does super well against longer cooldown items because it doubles their cooldown. This also has charge on it. Charge items are innately strong. Doesn't take up much space. It also procs items like Matchbox and adjacent items. It got nerfed quite a bit, but in some ways it almost got buffed because now the slow is longer on it, and it doesn't only slow small items; it actually slows all items. So its utility is super high. Its Crook is definitely up here. Crook is definitely better than Lemonade Stand. Just Lemonade Stand of Fire Enchantment is so broken. I don't know about okay. Broken's a little bit. It's such a big win condition, but it's so inconsistent that I can't put it at core. Crook should almost be core, but I, is this better than I? Yeah, marbles are consistently good. Okay, so I'm just gonna put them higher. Don't read into it too much. They're just consistently good, and I think this is my bias of the kind of builds I prefer to play. So I like small item builds and I like charge items. It's fun to try and make like a loop work. Like Monocle or something. It shields you based off your gold. I have used it, but I'm not really happy that I've used it. Most of the time, it's really useless, and it has a long cooldown also. Is it called Monocle? Yeah, it's second. It could be triple your gold, but okay, let's say I have 500 gold, which I've never had. That's a ridiculous amount, and there's not really a good way to scale your gold up like that. Fine, you have 500 gold. Say you even have 1,000 gold. This is shielding you for 3,000 every 6 seconds. 3,000 gold is a ridiculous amount, or 1,000 gold is a ridiculous amount. But if you get there every 6 seconds, that almost sounds good to me. Almost. The issue is that it still loses to fire builds. 6 seconds, yeah, I don't know. It still loses to fire builds. Outside of that, early game, you're not going to have that much gold for this to be useful, and the cooldown is too high. It just doesn't make much sense. Like, if you get a gold version of it, I guess, and you have like 20 gold, it's going to shield 40 every 6 seconds on average. You're going to be around like 20 gold normally. It's really bad. The numbers on it make no sense. Cooldown is too long. It doesn't really have any tech tags on it. If it had more tech tags, it could be interesting. Tool is a start, but yeah. Uh, Spices. I wasn't actually aware this was a Pygmalion item for a long time. I thought it was like a Mac item that I kept finding by luck. This item, you can only find it in diamond form, so it has to be super late. But it has an 8 second cooldown and it doubles the damage of your biggest damage item, or is it just an item? It doubles the damage of an item. Um, it's pretty good if Ice Club. Where is Ice Club? Let me just go ahead and put Ice Club up, and I think this is the best item currently in the game. This is the best late game build. Also, I thought it was the best item last patch too, and I still think it is one of the best items in the game. If you can get to it, you can only find it later on, and this complements it quite a bit. But I'm gonna put this down in potential. Um, It's just because you don't find it until later on, and you can really bootstrap some interesting builds together now with Fort. So let's just keep going. Let's go through all the small items. Stopwatch. Stopwatch is a never tier for me. I mean, stopwatch plus Ice Club, it does work. And that's about it. That's the only time this item gets much value. It has. I don't think I would want it to be buffed or reworked too much. I mean, it has a 10-second cooldown and it freezes everything. So it doesn't do anything unless you have 3 synergy, which, okay. And if you do have 3 synergy, you have to wait 10 seconds, which isn't too bad because you're probably freezing stuff. And it's a small item, so it doesn't take up much space. It has potential, but I've never used it. I've never used it. So I'm just gonna put never used. Yeah, I never use these. And that note, I'm gonna go ahead and put gavel. And I never really use gavel. I'm gonna go ahead and put these in order still. I use this once, okay? But I do think it's okay early on. I just it's only against poison. All right. Pickles, they're almost like bad economy because all they do is generate tokens. The actual pickles themselves are absolutely useless. Um, Only use for it right now, unless they buff pickles or they make small item Pygmalion better with drum or something, is it would be. I would love to see more pickle synergy. I don't really get what the whole. Are they supposed to be like a little dice? I don't really understand what the flavor is. But right now, you just use them to generate tokens for your lemonade stand or Regal or Silk. I keep calling it Regal Shroud. I don't know why. I don't know if they renamed it, but Silk. Okay, Yo-Yo. This is the only charge item that kept its innate feature of upgrading its charge every time you upgrade it. So there's actually a purpose to upgrading this item, unlike Matchbox. Marbles increases slow, so it's all right. That's a pretty hard thing to do. Um, but yeah, charge 4 at Diamond is good, and it's good enough to build around. Not much else to say. You can find it pretty consistently, and you don't need to find it early on, like Silk and Regal Blade. You need to find these early on. So Ice Club, I think, is the best overall weapon, but you need to upgrade this though. Ice Club just comes out gold. Diamond Ice Club is a huge upgrade though. I'm not sure. It's hard for me to evaluate these top 3 weapons, but the thing about yo-yos, you can find it early on, and you can use your skill, your level up upgrades to upgrade it. So it's a lot easier to force. The hat. This item is like 6 seconds. Give your items damage. Something. It's definitely a never use for me. It's like almost the bottom of never. I've looked at it and it just seems so slow and useless. Potentially early on it could be good, but I think you can only find silver and gold versions of it for some reason. I just never find it early on. I've never seen it as a starter item either, and it doesn't even seem to be on the wiki. That's how useless it is. I don't know. The hat. Where's the hat? The wizard hat. Wizard hat. Wizard hat. Where are you? It might just. I just don't see it on the wiki. Oh, there we go. When you shield adjacent weapons. Oh, it's when you shield. You know, this actually isn't as bad as I remember it being. I thought it was when it activates. Okay, well, I've never used it. I think I should because I do use shield builds quite a bit. And scaling your damage by 20 is a good number. That's diamond. Oh, it's a gold only item. That's probably why also I've never really used it. Huh, so you can't build around it because you can't find it early on, but hmm. The thing is, when I'm procking shield a lot, normally I'm looking to play like weights and the basket, bushel, whatever. But this the flat damage once fire gets nerfed, hopefully, or more anti-fire gets introduced into the game, flat damage might be better, and I might actually use this. Um, but I've never used it, and every time I've seen it in game, it just doesn't work. It wouldn't fit in my build, takes up too much space, or the effect is meaningless. If I'm having a build where I proc shield a lot and I have a weapon, then I'm already probably forcing like I have no extra spots, you know. Atlil. Just gonna go ahead and put this on big potential. Turbo Atlil makes square build work so well. It's better than Crook. It's definitely the strongest medium weapon on its own outside like scaling items. You get it to 180 damage, and then just so many enchantments work pretty well on it. But it's okay. You need to buff it. It doesn't work by itself. I I'll put it up here because it's square build. I think is the strongest consistent build on Pygmalion right now, and it's thanks to Atl. If this wasn't there, I don't think it would be nearly as winning as much as far. You'd probably get 4 wins consistently, but 7 and 10, like with square, it seems really hard. I don't think, yeah. I'm trying to ignore this item for now, but Cash Cannon, put it in Matt tier. Sometimes it works. This item gains damage based on how much gold you've spent. So, yeah, if you find it early on and you have a lot of good economy items, you could use it and then you could scale it up and eventually it would become good. Uh, like the stars have to align, and then it's just a worse version of Regal Blade. So I've had it outscale my Regal Blade before, and then you could put like an enchantment on it. It's also slow. It's meh. It really is meh because the use case for it is so small. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's go for bees, beekeeper or bee nest, whatever it's called. Every time you buy a property, you get a bee. And if this is on play, you also buff your damage. You buff your bees every time you buy a property. And if this is in play, every time an enemy uses a weapon, it charges a bee by 2 seconds. I've seen people have success with bees. Like, it's a build. You can just win the like get quite far just playing bees. I'm I don't know how people do it to be honest though. I've seen the screenshots. I know you can enchant bees. Uh, you know, it's good against enemy weapon builds, and it's good against people who proc a lot of items. But right now, there's a lot of like pufferfish Vanessa and incinerator core Dooley, so it's not seeing its full potential. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it next to the crook. I think crook is way better though. I'll put it down here. Um, Once those builds get nerfed and maybe people return more to more weapons, then I think bees will be better. But the item is supposed to counter weapon builds, and yeah, it does that quite well. Doggo, it's a worse Regal Blade, and it's a worse Silk. It scales way too little. I mean, it's better than nothing. It's okay. It's better than Birdie, worse than Pawn Shop. I'll put it over here next to it. They can be friends together. It's alright. It's nice that it has the friend tag, but it just scales up too slowly compared to other items. But yeah, uh, you need like double digits permanent scaling to keep up with Dooley and health totals. And Dog is like 3, 6, 9, 12 again. It's those single digit permanent. It's where's Dog? I think they could also give it a cooler name. That'd be nice. Yeah, like you get it at silver. It scales 6 every time you sell a small item. It's okay. Um, it's a little bit unfair because Silk also scales by small, but it's just better. It's just 4, 8, 12, 16. So I don't know why this numbers aren't applied to the other small scaling items on Pygmalion, but Shield also is just has more utility than flat damage. Um, Dog has a 6 second cooldown though, which is all right. It's better than most medium items, and it scales, so it's over here. It's fine. It has potential. I don't know if I'd say big potential, but it has potential. So Banjo. This item is similar to the bow, where it can carry you early on, and then it falls off. It falls off into the like a pit, into a chasm, into the Grand Canyon. It just you chuck it off, and you never really want to use it after day 5. Um, but early on, it's nice. All scaling items are super good, and it's even better when you can scale up bandages. So you scale up 2 values at once, or you can scale up an item like this, 2 values at once. There's something else I'm trying to remember. Oh, the shield items, it also scales up. There's not a lot of things that scale up shielding. So yeah, it's good. It's good early on. I almost want to make a good early on tier, but that's okay. I'll get too complicated. It's okay. It's almost yeah. There we go. Um, what is this called again? Flail. There we go. I use it quite a bit. This is just multicast. It starts at 5 damage, but if you have some way to buff its damage, it's really good early on, like Banjo. Um, yeah, Flail's pretty good. It's all right. It's good of Crook. It's just the base numbers on it are too small. Multicast is high value, but it falls off a lot harder than even Banjo. So if you can somehow make this would be good with like a shield build plus the hat, because it triples the flat damage, and that might be enough to actually kill someone. Um, it it is just multicast 3 on an item on a weapon. That's pretty good. Where's flail? What's the cooldown? 6 seconds. Maybe I should even put it into potential tier, but I just haven't made any builds where I use it. Like even with Crook, I just sell it eventually for belt or something else. Or I prefer using the silver bow just because it has bigger flat damage. And if Crook builds, all you need to do is kill them in like 1 to 2 hits. Essentially, you want to swipe them once or twice because every other build is just a scaling build, and you can't let them scale. So yeah, I don't know. It's just the numbers on are a little bit too small. I'll put it next to the bow. They're quite similar. I think I could definitely see an argument saying that it should be higher or it should be in front of the bow, but that's all right. It's an okay item. It's quite boring, but it's good to have some boring plain items in my opinion. Uh, I just think that the game needs more items. That's all it needs. It just needs more items. So I don't think they should spend too much time reworking or even worrying about balance. I think they just need to keep pushing content out. That should be their priority, at least while it's in beta. Um, let's see the shield. So the thing about this item is that it does damage based off your shield. It's definitely not here. I'm just going to put it back here while I talk about it. What's it called? Spiky shield, I think. Spiky shield. It has an 8 second cooldown, and that's actually beautiful because Silk has a 7 second cooldown, and this is 8 seconds. They're perfectly timed that when your Silk goes off, the next second your Spiky shield goes off and uses up that shield to damage them. It's a beautiful combo, but this only works if you have Silk. I really love it. I love how well these work. Just the 7 and the 8, they just work so well together. All the other big shield items don't work well with this item because you need your shield to be up to do the damage. So you need the shield items to pop, and then you need the spiky shield to pop right after. And what's funny is that if you actually give this cooldown reduction or haste, sometimes it messes it up, and it goes off before your silk, and then it's completely ruined. And I really like this kind of interaction where it's not just like a flat burn that kills you in 6 seconds no matter what happens. Um, it's interesting to me, and it's a little bit random, but I don't know where to place it because this item is really good if you have silk, and it's completely useless if you don't. Dooley has just like a better version of this item. That's a large item with a 4 second cooldown. It's okay. I It definitely has to stay in big potential tier. I'll put it above the dog. This If silk wasn't as good as it is, this item would be like never used here almost. It was almost never used here before Silk. But there maybe some property potential. It's a good item. I really like the effect of transform your shield into damage. Because normally when you play shield builds, you're worried about poison or scaling builds. But if you can somehow transform your shield value into damage, then it counters both of those by killing them. Yeah, kill them. Uh, Battleship used to be good. This item gives you shield and it charges 1 second every time you use an adjacent item. However, it's been nerfed to no longer upgrade its charge when you upgrade it, and it's high key useless now. Like, you could sometimes use it with duct tape and bushel to go infinite still, but I mean, charge items. It's a little bit unfair to put it this low. I think the fact that they nerfed it so hard to not gain charge even at diamond tier makes it feels worthless to upgrade. Similar to Matchbox, like it's even worse than Matchbox. The values when you upgrade are just super low. I don't care about upgrading it. Um, so you don't it doesn't get stronger by upgrading it. You just need everything around it to be good, and then the payoff is quite mid. Uh, it definitely shouldn't be this low. I'm putting it here because I think that I don't know. They need to do something. They need to rework it, or they need to add some more shield synergy items. Uh, where's Bushel? Bushel. If you get duct tape, Bushel's still fine. It works really well with weights. I'm just gonna go these three. I'm just gonna talk about these three because weights right now is one of your best scaling items early on. It every time it activates, it buffs your damage items and healing items by like 10, 15, 20 or something, depending on its level. And the main part is that when you're full health and you get healed, it charges 2 seconds. And a lot of your healings go off at the same time, so on this character, so you tend to overheal a lot. And then it scales up your healing, and then it scales up your damage, and then it procs more, and it kind of loops, and it's super good. Um, it's a really fun item. It works super well with Yo-Yo, which is a small item that doesn't go off that like goes off a lot, and it scales it up. Super good with Caltrops if you can somehow make that work. It is consistently good even at bronze tier. And it's a non-weapon item, so it also procs Matchbox, and you can enchant it to scale shield items. You can enchant it to scale burn items. You can enchant it with crit. Enchanting of crit right now is broken. Uh, it's a little bit unfair. If I include that, it's definitely the best item in the game because it just gives all your items infinite crit. It's supposed to give 20% crit when it's used, which is still a lot. But right now, it just gives 20% crit when any item is used. Uh, so you just get silly crit values on your items. But I'm just gonna pretend that it's not in the game. This item's really good, and a lot of items that enable it just kind of go up in use. But I don't think they, without this item, I think they'd just be shit. Like I think Bushel in its current state would be shit without weights. I think they nerfed it, and pre-nerf it was pretty bad. Right now, it just whenever you use a shield item, it charges 1. So it's I hate putting it here. I'm just gonna put it top of Met here. Like the charge builds, it feels useless to upgrade it. The event early on where it used to upgrade it now just gives it 20 healing, which is pretty bad if you just compare it to like getting 1 XP, or if you just compare it to the event where it gives you 5% HP and it gives you all your healing items 20. So I don't know. Okay, that number seems weird to me. Um, I'm putting these down here because I think weights is going to get nerfed a little bit. Maybe we'll see. I don't think it's that big of an outlier, but I think these items on their own are just so pathetic right now, and I really hate items that feel useless to upgrade. I really don't like what they did with the charge items, where even at diamond tier they don't get anything special about them. I think all items should have something special about them when they get diamond tier. So there's some incentive, or like it feels good to actually upgrade them. Diamond items should feel special in my eyes, but yeah. Golf clubs. This is like Kikiri. It's a better version of Kikiri early on, and then it falls off. Uh, it can carry you pretty well early on. It gains damage every time you heal, but it gains it by 10. Um, no, 5, 10, 15. Oh, it's 5 actually at the start. I thought it was bigger. But yeah, I haven't really used it much this patch since Bird got nerfed. Uh, it's definitely worse than the medium items. Definitely worse than your healing items. It's somewhere around here. It has its use, but then it falls off into the abyss. Like the diamond tier is not not good enough really. It's okay. If you have space for a medium item, it's good. But most of the time, you don't have a space for a medium item, and that's why Kikiri is higher because it's just a small item with the same ability. Grindstone. It's a 3-second cooldown, and it buffs the weapon to the left of it by 20 at diamond or something. It's almost a never use, but it's okay. It's it's okay. I really um the main benefit of this is that it's a 3-second cooldown, so it goes off a lot, and it's okay with enchantments. But flat damage isn't super good, and it's a medium item that buffs flat damage every 3 seconds. So that also isn't very good. It's hard to find a time to actually use this because early on, if you find it, you need a weapon to use it, and later on, you need the space to use it, and it's quite hard. I had a run where I used it later on because I had a slow effect on it, and I had some slow synergy. And with enchantments, it slows 2 items, so it was okay. But enchantments are pretty good on it. Um, Lion Mane, or I don't remember what this is. Every time you level up, you get 100 HP. I'm about to go faster for these. It's definitely the best HP damaging item right now. Whammy Hammer is similar. It does damage based off your max HP, except it multicasts, but it has a longer cooldown. But it multicasts. If you wanted to play a single weapon build, Whammy Hammer or Ice Club are, you know, they're up there, but this scales up your HP and it does it. I think it's just a lot better than Whammy Hammer. Whammy Hammer, it's okay. You need the HP to make it work. It takes a lot to make the HP Pygmalion work, it feels like. And you just don't have that much space to make things work right now. Phonograph. This item reduces the cooldown of the item on the left by up to 50%. It's like, what is it, 50, 25? I think you can only find a gold version of it. Yeah. So it's a really good effect. It can make an item cooldown in half. So if you have like a whammy hammer, that's 12 seconds. It's actually called double whammy, sorry. 12 seconds, you can make it 6 seconds. And that way you have to, your one shot kill happens twice as fast. It's also good at making loops happen. If you can reduce your matchbox or your bushel in half, then you can actually make it loop. It's a really good item. Cooldown reduction is king. Let's go through some bad ones. This is a bad economy item. This gain, it's supposed to like double your item value in combat, but I never see it actually do that. I feel like it's bugged, but when you sell large items, it gains value. It doesn't have any tooltips, so that's the main issue. If it doesn't count as a property, doesn't count as a tool, it doesn't count as anything. It's just there being useless on your board. It's very hard to find the space to actually use it. Technically, if you could like double and then double again, it would be good, but it just doesn't seem to actually work properly. I don't know. This is like such an annoying item to get. It sells for 0 and it gives you 3 chocolates, so you get no money from buying it, but you get some max HP. This is like you get to burn your money for HP basically. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just order these a little bit. Okay. Tent. Properties, big potential. This almost is a core item. This revives you to 50% HP when you die, so that's nice. And it makes all your heals multicast, which can multicast has a lot of really cool interactions. This can do a lot. The only issue is that it's a large property that does nothing it doesn't do anything by itself. So you have a lot less space to make things work when you put it on. But if you think of it as doubling your healing items, like if you have a bird or if you have a bushel, it basically gives you an extra bushel. So it makes up for itself pretty quickly. And it has, when you die, you get a heal. So that's like a bonus effect on top of that. Glass pane, if properties were good, this would be a good item. Properties currently just don't work. They've nerfed this item a lot. I don't think this is even current. It has cooldown reduction and it has scaling value on it. And it also doubles. It does a lot. This is like the best property item. And it counts as a property. It has the property tag on it too, which is great. Like, but the things that it's enabling are really good right now. So I'm gonna put it in big potential. The item itself is good. I just never find it early on. Also, do they make it gold only? Yeah, they made it gold only. Okay, that's probably why. That sucks. Uh, this is a good economy item. It's not as good as credit card. It's definitely better than gumball machine. This at the start of the day it upgrades itself, and you can actually use it early on. So you can use it, and it has a good shield effect, and then you can sell it for a profit. Um, ice cream truck. I'm gonna avoid that one. That's a little bit hard. Eco good. I mean, this item is interesting. It gives you 3 small items from anywhere in the game, which I think is a really fun effect. It sells for 0, but if you can buy it for 12 gold, you tend to lose like 6 gold. Then you have a chance to like roll an extra yo-yo or roll anything else from any character, which is quite fun. On average, though, the small items don't seem to be super useful. I think on different characters this might change, and when more characters come out, this might be better. Who knows? It's a cool item. Fort, they reworked this. Currently, this still keeps its effect of increasing all enemy cooldowns, but also increases your own cooldowns now. I think increasing enemy cooldowns is the strongest effect in the game because it just destroys loot builds and it's good against everything. So any item with that is super strong, but if that's all it did, it wouldn't be up here. Now, any cooldowns that are above 8 seconds on your side get multicast. This works really well Silk and Spiky Shield. So Silk multicasts, say you have 5,000 shield on it, or let's just say 1,000. It gives you 2,000 shield, and then the Spiky Shield doubles this again. It does damage based on your shield twice, so then it does 4,000 damage. And if it has crit, let's say this has crit, this is cast, instead of 1,000, it'll cast 2,000 twice. And then if this has crit, instead of casting 4,000 twice, it casts 8,000 twice. And it kind of, scales up a lot. Multicast is great. And this also makes your one-shot, or makes like Ice Club better. You don't really use that much of Ice Club. It's good to freeze. It's just a really interesting item, and I'm happy with the rework. It's a little bit sad how when you have cooldown reduction, like certain passives give you cooldown reduction when people have higher health than you, it removes the passive from this. So you have to be careful. But yeah, the main reason it's up here is just because Silk is really good right now. There's not that many other items that use it super well, but I think there'll be more in the future. Drums. This is going to go on never use. Maybe not the bottom of it, but every time you use a weapon, it gives it haste. That's really good. And it gives it 1 damage. What the... like, what? Uh, when you use a weapon, your weapons gain 3 damage for the fight at Diamond tier. Hello? Like, what are we scaling by 3 for? Like, Dooley's over here scaling by 30 every time he gets haste on his ballista, and we're using a large item to enable a bunch of weapons, and we're hasting them basically. This is basically just haster weapons. Small item Dooley, if it ever becomes a thing, it's going to be because they rework Drum to actually be a useful item. If they ever rework Drum to become a useful item, all these like small items that I've rated to be kind of useless, even this, are going to go up higher. Even Gavel. Gavel might even become good one day. Who knows? If this had even had the effect of at the start of a fight, haste your weapons, like, I don't know. There's something. If this had they should do this where it's not a passive, honestly. They should make this where it has its own cooldown. And it gets charged when you use a small item. And then, at least that way we could have, it should be a property too. I don't know. This item is just incomplete right now. I'm going to put it down. I'm just going to put it at the back here of the hat. This is like an incomplete item to me. Snow globe property, medium property. Medium properties are pretty rare, and it can multicast freeze. This is like the best freeze item Pygmalion has, and I don't think there's that many. Like most characters have like one or two super good freeze items, and Pygmalion also has one or two super good freeze items. Ice globe, definitely the best medium freeze item in the game, though. I think short cooldown property has multicast. If it has other properties, multicast is strong. Has good potential of skills and ice club. Okay, let's go through all the properties then. Windmill, they buff this item. Whenever an item is used, it charges, and then it charges adjacent items. This lets you make. This just lets you charge items that were never really meant to be charged, which is super cool. Um, Issues, you can only find a diamond version of it, but still super cool. And it's just gonna be an item that you see on Pygmalion for a long time. I feel like, yeah. Uh, Gym. I almost want to put the stupid penny tree down here. Penny tree heals you based on the coins. Okay, let's not be too rash. Like small weapon that doubles its damage once it gets past 80. And yeah, I mean I do use it, but that's because a lot of mobs give it to you. I mean, it's dishonest to say I never use it, but it's an 8-second cooldown on a small item. Again, if Drum ever becomes good, this item will see value. Drum as it is right now, terrible. Speaking of buffing flat damage, Jim is here. Jim, whenever you buy a weapon, this gains value, and you get max HP permanently. So it's like better pawn shop for weapons. On top of that, it also has an effect of when you put it in play. I think, what is it? Not pawn shop, Jim. Is it 6 seconds? No, it's 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds, it gives its value as damage to all your weapons. This sounds really good, and I just struggle to pull it off. I mean, there's some synergies with weights. I mean, gym and caltrops, gym and bees, gym and yo-yo. But most of the time, I'd rather be just using weights instead of waiting 5 seconds. The difficult thing is getting a lot of value on a gym for me. Even if it has 100, then I need to have a build that's also worth using while I'm buffing up gym. Because while I'm buffing up, while it's at 20 value, it's like a pretty bad item. However, you compare it to other flat damaging buffing items like Grindstone, it becomes a lot better if you just get it up to 40. Grindstone gives 40 every 6 seconds. This will give 40 every 5 seconds, and it has the property tag, and it's giving you passive benefits for buying weapons. If you get this early on, it's incredible, but it's been so long since I'm just going to put it beside Pawn Shop. I think it's even better than Pawn Shop, you could say. They're quite similar. Uh, yeah. Let me know what you guys think about Jim. The stone. I'm just going to put this in never use. This is almost a meme item. What is it called? Boulder? Stone? Atlas stone. Double this damage every 8 seconds. It doubles the damage. Oh, man. I don't know. Like, this is a meme weapon. If you need it, 8 seconds doubling. So late game, because you can only find a diamond version of it for some reason. I mean, I guess because you can't scale the doubling effect, so that makes sense. But let's say you have like a gym with 500 gold, so you'd buff it to 500, and then it would double itself at 8 seconds, so it'd do 1,000 damage, and then you'd use the gym again and go to 1,500. And then you double again, does 3,000 damage. So it would do like 5k damage in 16 seconds. Um, I don't know. Just like trying to think of a use case where it's You just need the fight to drag out for so long, and fights don't last that long in this game, and I don't think they want fights to last that long in this game because it'd be annoying unless there's a speed up feature, which maybe they'll add. They talked about it, but fights just don't last long enough for this to ever be useful. And there's items. If fights do start lasting that long, there's other items like that Vanessa has, like the boulder that just insta kills people that has a 20-second cooldown. Um, there is some way to give this charge, and I don't see it. It even if you permanently haste this and make it a 4-second cooldown, I still it has potential, but I haven't seen it bolt. It's just so hard to actually make work. This is a challenging item to actually make work. You have to like go out of your way to try and figure out some kind of solution to make this item good. Um, yeah, I mean, it has the best scaling in the game. Eventually, infinite value. Okay, I don't know what this item's called, but I know what it does. When I use a property, it charges and it freezes at 5 or 6 seconds. It's an okay freeze item. It's okay with Ice Globe. It's pretty useless on its own. Often I don't have enough space for it in most builds. It is freeze. Yeah, it is also a charge freeze item, which should be really good, but it has no tags on it. It's not a tool or a property or anything. Um, I mean, I think it's in a fine spot as it is. You don't want to charge freeze item becoming too strong. Uh, Freeze builds are peak builds, but often enough, if I have like a property plus Ice Globe plus Ice Club, there's no space for this. And I'd much rather just have like some small freeze item. Yeah. Okay. Bless you. I robe. This buffs your shield items every time a shield item gets used. The issue is that it buffs it by like 2 shielding. I have used this before. The scaling on it is just too small compared to how much other items scale currently, and it takes up too much space to really do nothing. Scaling needs to just be higher value. Like the good news is that it buffs all your shield items, and it's like, which is interesting. If you have a lot of small shield items, what's it called? Robe, rib, robe. Yeah, the numbers are just too small on this. Uh, and I don't think it needs to be buffed. I just think in the grand scheme of things, it's just the other scaling items should not be as high as they are. I think shielding Pygmalion would be weird. Doesn't really fit his character personally. Um, so I guess we'll do the 2 reworked properties. These used to be really good. Now they're trash. I'm gonna put these in never use. They got nerfed really hard. They both now still keep their gain passive income, and now every 9 seconds they have the amazing ability of healing you or shielding you based on the value of all the items you've used so far. This is not updated. This used to be the case. It used to be a charge item, and it used to be really good because it used to have scaling charge. Now I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking of these. They're terrible right now. You could do some kind of meme build with them, but I haven't seen anyone use them to any effective things. They do fit Pygmalion's identity more of being a merchant, and I do like items that play around value. I just think the fact that they're both at 9 seconds cooldown, it just makes them quite bad. They should be a lower cooldown, or there should be more property haste abilities or property charge or something. More property abilities maybe. I'm not sure. I could see a property build of just like perma healing, but then it still loses to freeze and slow, and it's like, why are you going out of your way to play that when you could just have a bunch of small items that have more value and proc more and are faster? So yeah, or just start off with a core. Okay, let's go ahead and put these 2 things together. They are like almost the top of never use. I've seen them used. One of them gives regen, the other one gives health or something. Sign, open sign. I think it's like open sign and close sign. Weapons gain damage Okay, this is the blue one, right? Yeah, this one's useless. The regen one I've seen used. I mean, it's up there with the robe. It's up there with the robe. Um, yeah, it gives you regen based on your adjacent property values. I thought it just yeah, it's just adjacent item values. I'm pretty sure they changed it, but I mean, this could like give you a lot of regen potentially. It doesn't have any tags itself. It's not like a tool. I don't know. Once they add more tags in the game, maybe it's better. But right now, it's like if you're winning already, you could kind of use it to it does regen doesn't matter against scaling damage against poison or uh everything scales in this game. So just regen falls off a lot, and this is only good late game when you have high value properties or items. T set. Every time you use a non-weapon item, this gives you permanent health. This is really good if you get it early on. Only issue is that again, maximum HP doesn't mean much. If you get this and then pivot into like a max HP build somehow, cool. But this is an expensive item to buy most of the time, and you already need to have a lot of procs going on, and you need to have long fights. And it's you're replacing a medium item to do nothing except give you buffs later on. It's like one of the best ways to get max HP if you can get it going. I've had some really cool builds with it, but it's like almost a meme item. It's definitely like the same tier as Glass Pane. I don't know why I have Bushel below Glass Pane and T set. Gonna put these down here for now. Okay, Hammock. I've seen a lot of success with this item, and I think I need to revisit. It has some of the best enchantment scaling. It can have a really low cooldown with large items. I'll put it in over here. I need to experiment more with it. I personally rarely use it, so I can't have too many comments. I just see it quite often in 10-1 builds. Or boards or whatever. This is a multicast, like 8-second item that buffs your weapons by like 8 or 6. AK, it's like pretty useless. It's definitely one of the worst medium items. Put it near the silk. I use it because sometimes you just need a medium weapon to use with crook early on, but you get rid of it as soon as you can. The big oaf. Big potential if you get it early on, and there's just better things currently, and you tend to lose even when you have it. This item is. I'm gonna put it in a met here. He's a fluffy guy. I like him a lot. It's just it's not his time to shine. He's a lot worse than Silk and Regal Blade. It feels like just because of his long cooldown. Fluffy friend. What is he called? I don't even know. Don't even know what he's called anymore. It's an item that every time you buy an item, he gains damage, which is really good. It's one of the best scaling ways. Is just from buying items. Selling would even be better though, because you tend to generate tokens, so you sell more actually. So okay. Issue is that it's a 10-second cooldown, and there's not any friend synergy really on Pygmalion. So yeah, quite hard to use him currently, even when you get him scaled. Like I get him up to multicast in 4 seconds. I had like a fort Beast of Burden build, and I just lose to Dooley. So or Vanessa really. Like it's not that good. Uh there's better ways to get a lot more damage with multicast. Two large items aren't it. Um ATM. I'd buy you quite often. You're pretty good early on. It's a 3-second shield property. I'll put you above T set because it works with Ice Globe. It works with Bushel. It counts as a property. So if you have any skills that use properties to scale crit damage or damage, it's good early on. And it gives you income when you buy it. And when you upgrade it, you get even more income. And it's the only medium property with an active. It's the only medium property of an active other than Ice Globe. But it's a 3-second cooldown, so it's pretty good. Uh, Event board. This gives crit to all your items, and honestly, I never use it. Yeah. The penny tree is like bottom of meta tier. Generates a coin every time you level up, and every time you sell a coin, it gets a stronger heal. It can be okay early on. Honestly, it has a use case early on. I'll put it over here. It's not down here. This property item reduces your I need to remember what it does. There you go. Balcony. The property that you left with this has double value, and it's cooldown reduced by a large amount. Definitely a big potential tier for properties. I remember this like glass pane plus balcony plus two properties was like that was it. You were in it before, and they've done some nerfs to that. But if properties ever do have a comeback, I mean, they should just be put together. I think balcony glass pane really they do the same thing a little bit. Cool introduction, except glass pane scales your properties. But cool introduction is also really good on properties. So I don't know. We'll put them over there. Hogwash, one of the better healing items. Every time you heal, it gives you max HP. Too bad max HP doesn't mean much. Um, it's good early on, and has potential to like just stay in your build for a long time because it also makes the bird multicast and as a heal. And it's an odd number. I think what is it? Is it 5 seconds? No, it's just 4 seconds still. Yeah, it's not a 4 second cooldown. Oops. I was thinking of lemonade stand. Lemonade stand 6 seconds. Okay, ice cream truck. I wish this item was better. I almost never use it now. I go ahead and put this almost in there. Like it's down here. I really never use it. You this charges every time you use an item. I think a small item actually. I think it has to be it has to be a non-weapon item. Okay. So it charges every time you use a non-weapon item by 1 second. So to use it, ideally you have like a loop going with a bunch of non-weapon items, which is really hard to do right now with Pygmalion because of how much they nerf charge. And then this is a large item, and then its upgrades. It has a 4 second freeze, which is really good. It has potential, but like it's just so hard to make loops work now. With Pygmalion, like, you just need the full board to make a loop work. And then late game, you don't even want to go for loops because like if you're stuck in the game that long, the issue is that they just have like a atomic clock or something on like on Dooley. He has just some way to either outscale you or stop your loop, or I don't know. There's just too much counters. It feels like freeze is also a good counter, but it's definitely in mess here. I don't know. I'm gonna keep looking. I'll put it next to the properties. Put it next to T set. It's a freeze item of charge on it, and the issue is that it doesn't count as a property. This annoys me a lot. I wish this counted as a property, because I remember every time I want to use it, it just doesn't count as a property, and it doesn't work with like haste and other like property passives. Are ice cream trucks not properties? Like, look at it. Look at it. It looks like a property to me. It's a mobile property. Like, is a trailer not a property? Is like a food truck not a property? I don't know. We're gonna have to talk about that right now. We're gonna have to figure that out. Okay. This is like some igloo up in the sky. When you get half health, it uses it. It shields and freezes an item. It's a property. It's all right. It really is a met here. It's a freeze item, so you'd think it'd be higher, but rarely does it come into play. The cooldown's quite long. When you go to half health, it guarantees to use it, and just for that alone, I'll rate it higher. Because if you have like a one-hit build going of Ice Club, and they freeze you, wait, no, doesn't even matter if they freeze you. I don't know. Like if they like insta kill you or something, or they like have some kind of fast loop, it guarantees a freeze at least to try and stop it. But I don't know. I think the effect of guaranteeing an activation when you get to half health is a really good one, and that's the only reason I have it higher up. Other than that, it's like pretty. I think it's definitely worse than Penetrating. Just gonna reorder this a tiny bit, but I definitely put this too low. I hate how much they nerfed it. Okay, this item I think it heals you based on the value of all your other items, or is it? I don't even remember its name. I misread it once upon a time, and I thought it gave value to your other items. At diamond tier, I was like, oh my god, every time it heals, it gives value to all of my other items. That's so good. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, your other items gain plus value equal to this item's value in combat. Okay, I misspoke. It does do this, but it does it once. It does. I thought it did it every 4 seconds. Um, and maybe it really reads like it should happen multiple times, right? This reads like it's an active ability, but it only happens once. Uh, it could be good if a property build, but yeah, I used it once and I regretted it. That's all I gotta say for now. I'm just gonna put it down there. And the properties, oh man, it feels so weird rating these guys so low. The diamond tier got nerfed for these, and they no longer affect other properties. So it's just like mission impossible to get them online. Previously, they would affect other properties, and then they would triple, and then it would trip like it. The numbers would scale, and I'd love to see that build again. I'd love to see like some kind of small item where like adjacent properties share value, or like I don't know. I think having multiple properties they should impact each other, but yeah, the properties are just not in a good spot right now, and they're quite boring, honestly. Flavor wise, it's a large item. I think the diamond tier should have something more interesting. Yeah, I don't know what they want to do with properties. I think that they really rethink it. I think these are going to get reworked, and I think a lot of properties hopefully are going to get reworked from the current state because they've become quite boring. Even if they were good, even if they're, I don't know, say this is like double the numbers, you can always make stuff better by buffing its numbers. I still think it would just be boring. I want my items to gain value, and I wish there was more ways to gain value. Maybe more encounters for Pygmalion. Maybe more encounters that double your value on properties. You can go for some kind of high roll. It'd be cool. Um, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see in the future, but for now, yeah, this is it. This is it for now for me. Okay. Thanks for watching.